is three-time first-team All-Pro, Super Bowl champion Tyron Mathieu. Tyron, thanks for joining us. It's great to see you. Want to congratulate you on your retirement. How have the first days of retirement been going?
Well, appreciate you guys having me on, man. It's definitely been a blessing, man. It's been a great ride. I can't even think of like any bad days I've had over the course of the last 12, 13 seasons, man. So I just feel really, really blessed, man, and fortunate that, I can make this kind of decision and be happy with it and move on and be looking forward to, what life got to offer.
Well, and congratulations to you. I think that one day you're going to end up in the Chiefs Ring of Honor. You were part of, the first Super Bowl champion for the organization in 50-plus years, helped kind of change the course of that franchise along with Patrick and the other guys. But there's something, I think, bigger on the board for you. You're an all-decade team member. Wilds mentioned the All-Pros. Do you think you're a Hall of Famer?
Oh, man. I hope so. I think, that's what you strive to be. I think, all the great teammates that I've had over the years. And, I think back to Patrick Peterson and Larry Fitzgerald and, spending time with J.J. Watt in Houston and, obviously all the great players I played with in KC and even New Orleans, with Cam Jordan and DeMario. And I think we all kind of aspire to even really be in those conversations. And so, hopefully 5-6 years from now, one of my old coaches or former teammates can knock on my door, so I'm definitely hopeful of that.
I think you've got the resume. I think it'd be deserved. I'd say that even if you weren't a Chiefs legend. I want to talk about maybe some other legends quickly before we get to some other stuff. Long time in the league. I felt like an old man watching the LSU highlights. I'm like, I remember those highlights, and you now had a whole NFL career. Who was the hardest quarterback in the course of your NFL career to game plan for? Like in the week leading up to deal with? Who was the hardest one?
Man, I'd probably say the hardest one for me really early on in my career, at least, was Russell Wilson. I mean, he was really, really tough to play against. And obviously he had a great team around him. But, I think about Russ 10 years ago and, he was just so clutch, so accurate, right? Like he knew when to run, he knew when to take shots. And I think, playing against him, twice a year and Richard Sherman, all those other guys, I think, guys like that definitely, make you better. And I'd probably say, aside from Russ, man, Lamar Jackson, like he was always tough to game plan against, and he was even tougher to tackle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then I guess the other side of that in your career, the receiver version of that question, but in the game, was there one receiver in particular that either gave you the most trouble or when you saw was on the schedule, like, man, this is going to be a monster?
Yeah, I remember, my rookie season and us playing against Calvin Johnson. And I remember walking out on the football field pregame and, just going through normal pregame routine. And I remember Calvin Johnson came out of the locker room. And I think at that point I realized like, wow, like I'm actually small. Like I'm really short, like maybe I shouldn't, be out here. You know what I mean? But, I think about Doug Baldwin. When I first came in the league, like he was really, really good and playing against like guys like Anquan Bolden, you know what I mean? The Golden Tates of the world. I feel like all those guys and being able to play against those guys, 2 times a year, I think they definitely got me better, as my career went on.
Tyron, Nick mentioned you played 3 years with the Chiefs. When you were there, you guys did win the Super Bowl, and the offense was spectacular. A lot of long passes. Obviously Tyreek Hill was there. Mahomes was putting up huge numbers. Last few years, his numbers have been a lot more pedestrian. They haven't had the light show, as people have referred to it. Why do you think they haven't had the dynamic offense they had in the past with Mahomes?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, man, it's kind of hard to duplicate, some of the great things, Pat has really done, in his young career. I mean, it's absolutely hard to do it. And, but, I think the Chiefs and especially Mahomes, man, like he's one of the best players I've ever played with, competed against. Like he's that guy that I would never ever, count out. No matter what. Like I feel like he has a legit chance, man, to be one of the greatest, quarterbacks, ever. And I think it was an honor to play with those guys and be a part of that.
They've got Xavier Worthy, had a great rookie season. A speedster like Tyreek Hill was.
Yeah.
Some people have said they think he could have a Tyreek Hill type impact on that team. Do you think that's possible for Xavier Worthy?
I think so. I think they share some similar qualities. Obviously I haven't, been around Xavier as much as I've, been around Tyreek, but Tyreek is a freakish athlete, man. Like some of the things he does is really unreal. So I think there's a little bit of pressure to put that kind of, task on, Xavier so early. But I mean, like I said, man, like he's in a perfect situation. Like he's around the right coaches, he's around the right players. And I can definitely see him continuing to get better. And I think a lot of people forget about Rashee Rice. Like I think he's going to be one of the 10 best, wide receivers, in our league for the next 10 years. I think he's really special. So I think they able to get him back, and obviously Kelce. I think they'll be just fine going forward.
You were a DB, obviously. You just talked about a few receivers. Travis Hunter's trying to do both. Like, how much of a challenge? I got to be honest, as great as he was in college, I just wonder, can a guy be elite at both of those at the same time in the NFL? I tend to think not. How big of a challenge is he facing?
I mean, it's a huge challenge. I mean, obviously, man, like so much goes into, studying game plans throughout the week. And I think at times it's a lot, just if you play offense or defense, right? Like it's a lot of information. And so I would say, early on in my career, Patrick Peterson used to play offense every now and then. Probably not quite as much as Travis will, but I remember after those practices, after those games, Pat took, 20, 30 extra reps than all of us. And so, he always felt, a little worse about himself than we felt. But yeah, man, it's a great task. I think he can do it. I hope he can do it, but it's a tall task, man. So, but we'll see. We'll see.
We've talked about some guys that you played with or against earlier in your career. Are there any young guys that you either played with last year or coming out of college that are maybe flying under the radar, that everyone thinks they're good but are actually great, or that you think they have the ability to be great?
Yeah, I mean, I think Buda Baker, I think he gets a little love, not as much love as, I would, like for him to get, because he was so talented. I remember we drafted him as a rookie in Arizona, man. And, the kind of plays he make, that the instincts, the edge, the attitude that he play with, I think, guys like that, man, he just makes the team, so much better, and, obviously I think think about Chris Jones too, like he was one of the most elite defensive linemen, and I played with J.J. Watt too. And I just thought Chris was just so dominant. Like he's one of those guys too that can take over the game at any given moment. So I would like for Chris to kind of put together a whole season, because I know if he's able to do it, like he definitely can win, Defensive Player of the Year.
So you guys last year in New Orleans played in Week 3 the Eagles, and going into that game, you guys obviously were flying high. You had 2 massive scoring outputs in starting the year.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles were, getting on the cusp of getting booed by their home crowd, and that game against you guys was an ugly one if people don't remember it. I think Goddard got loose or the tight end got loose for a big play late, and they won 15-12. When you walked off the field that day, could you have foreseen that team really only losing one more time the rest of the year and going on the run they did? How surprised were you that team turned into the team we saw at the end of the season?
I mean, to be honest, man, I wasn't surprised at all. I think especially once you're able to compete against those guys and play against them, man, I think that entire team, they had a lot of edge. They had a lot of attitude about themselves. And, I think the last couple of years, especially with Saquon not being, as available or not used the right way, I think a lot of us kind of went to sleep, on Saquon as well. And obviously you talk about Goddard getting loose in the fourth quarter, but it was really Saquon that put the nail in our coffin, with that 60-yard touchdown run. So, but I think, man, anytime you're able to look at a team like that, man, and realize that they have a pretty good quarterback, they got a great system, a great scheme, great run outfit, and then AJ Brown, man, I think he's probably one of the most underrated, number one receivers in our league. I think he's one of those guys, man. Like if it's one-on-one, like he's the guy you want to give that chance to. And so I think playing against him, obviously it was tough, man. But you realize that, man, they had a lot of good football players on their team, not just offensively, but defensively as well.
All right, quickly before you go, obviously I'm a Chiefs guy, but I also pull for the Bears in the NFC because I have quite a bet on Caleb. They have a new head coach. They also have a new defensive coordinator. He's your former head coach, Dennis Allen. The report out of first day of camp was Ben Johnson kicked the offense off the field and Ben Johnson made the defense do up downs for screwing up a drill. What should Bears fans be expecting from Dennis Allen as their D coordinator?
Man, I think DA is going to bring, and obviously, man, it's a high standard when you start talking about some of the great Bears defenses of the past. I mean, it's hard to kind of duplicate, but I think everything that Dennis, what he preached as a defensive coach, like I think Chicago fans and people that love football, they're gonna be happy with the way those guys play defense. And I think DA is just he's one of those defensive coaches, man. Like he's so good with the modern offenses and motions and using safeties and run fits and just having so much in his package that he could just use at his disposal. Obviously it's a tough scheme. I think they're gonna have some growing pains with just kind of understanding the scheme and doing it exactly how DA wants it. But the style of play and the attitude of that defense, I think is going to be a positive, representation, of Dennis and everything he really brings to the defensive side of the ball.
So no excuses for Caleb is what he's basically saying. No excuses for Caleb. Like, it's on Caleb and Johnson. Tyron, thank you very much. Congratulations on a wonderful career. We'll see you soon. Friend of the show, Tyron Mathieu.
Yeah, thanks, Tyron.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
More First Things First with Michigan head coach Sean Moore next.
Consumer Reports has named the 2025 most reliable